Hi everybody, it's Coach Allison and I've got week 28, Defy Aging. And I hope everybody is doing well and enjoying the new warm-up and cool down after we've got a week under our belt of that. So this week we have one circuit on the turf of 6 exercises, and we're going to go through that for 4 rounds of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So not overly complicated with the timing structure or anything like that. So let's review our 6 exercises. All right, station 1 is going to be a contralateral overhead high knee. So a lot of words there, right? So we're going to have a kettlebell. We're going to be doing an overhead hold with the kettlebell. So to do that, we have to do this racked, kind of start in this racked position. And your coach will go over how to hold that properly. But that's really just to get it in the position because then we're going to be pressing it overhead. Okay, but notice how when it's overhead, I have the curve of the bar handle in between the bend of where my pointer finger and thumb are, right? So when you do an overhead hold with a kettlebell, you're not necessarily holding right in the center of the handle. And that's just going to be more comfortable. If it's over here, it's going to kind of drape more comfortably along your forearm. So it's not going to rest as uncomfortably along your forearm, kind of bumping into your wrist. And so that's why you want to start it in this racked position. You remember our rack position from, I think, 2 weeks ago. That's your rack position. Then you just bring it right on up. Anyway, so make sure I'm back far enough. So we start in that rack position. Bring that kettlebell up. I like to do a loose grip. You can grip more tightly if you'd like to. The key with an overhead kettlebell is that, or an overhead dumbbell, anything, you want to have a nice, straight, strong arm. My elbow does go all the way straight. A lot of people's kind of doesn't quite straighten all the way. That's fine as long as whatever your joint does, you're going as straight as your joint allows. Again, I can lock mine in straight, and that's what we want to do. You want to get your bicep as close to your ear as possible. So we're not doing this. That's actually just make it harder on yourself. If you get that arm nice and straight, this is going to be a lot easier to keep this nice and straight than if it's way out here, and then it's going to be a lot more wobbly. So once we have that arm up, that stays. The contralateral component, as in the name of the exercise, is weights in one hand, and we're doing the work on the other leg. So we're going to be doing the lifting, the high knee on the other side. So we have the weight in one hand, doing a high knee on the other side. So we want this high knee to be slow and controlled. So that's just solidifying the stability, balance, control, all of that. And, if we're just kind of doing this fast and, sloppy, it's not really proving or showing ourselves that we are balanced and we have the control and the core stability and all of that. So slow, controlled, high knee. See if you're able to get that knee at least parallel, maybe a little higher. Okay, so we're, again, trying to avoid a small lift like this. And if you need to hold something for balance, that's totally fine. So take that free hand, place it on a wall or a rack. And since we are doing 4 rounds, we can do all of round 1 on one side and not worry about switching sides until we get to round 2. That way we don't have to worry about that halfway point because we have the even rounds. So we'll go about that switching that way for this week. So that is our first station, contralateral overhead high knee. Station 2 is a single arm band reverse fly. It's going to be quite different. It's going to be a bent over fly as well. I just didn't want to put that in the name because it would have been way too long. So same as exercise 1, where we're going to do all of round 1 on one side and then not do the other side until round 2 because we have 4 rounds. So we can get 2 rounds on each side. You need the band anchored somewhere low for this. So I have it anchored all the way at the base of my rack. As you can see, it's angled downward. You can also, if we're doing a bent over fly here, it's nice because we only need to hold on to the band with one arm. So you can support yourself on that, on your knee here. So from the side, as you can see, I'm supporting myself on my knee. You grab the band coming from the opposite side because I'm going to be flying out. So I need to be pulling the resistance out. So as you can see, I'm grabbing the band with the opposite arm. Okay, you're going to need to use a light band, and you got to be standing pretty close to the anchor point because this is a reverse flies are a challenge. Remember when we do this with dumbbells, which is not very often, I always tell people to use like a 2, 3, or maybe a 5-pound weight. So light weight, light band, and light resistance. So that being said, this is our band reverse fly. Keep a soft bend in your elbow. See the position of my arm? This soft bend in my elbow. That position of my arm, as you can see, is never changing. So I'm not bending the elbow here and like straightening the arm out there. This is not what I'm doing. That's almost like a tricep extension. But instead, I'm just going to put it down, but I'm locking that arm position in place at all times. My arm position at the bottom is exactly the same arm position at the top. And I'm going slow and controlled. The muscles that you want to be using are the back of the shoulder and kind of in towards the scapula, like in towards the shoulder blade here. So think of it when we do the band double arm standing reverse fly that we did 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. I can't remember. It's exactly the same, but now it's just coming down into this position and only using one arm. So that's what we're doing here. One more time. If you're using either a band that's too hard, heavy, or you're out too far, that's when you're going to need to start doing like this bent elbow and going too fast. Make sure you're not like twisting your body and using momentum. Your body should stay still, and the only thing moving is your shoulder joint. So your arm from the shoulder joint. Okay? Harder than it looks. You should feel a nice little burn in the back of the shoulder joint here. 2 rounds on each side. Station 3 is slow negative squats. We've also called it like the 3-to-1 squats in the past. All that means is the negative of a squat is the way down, the positive is the way up. So we're going to go slow on the way down, normal speed on the way up. You can choose to hold a weight for this if you'd like, but sometimes just the act of the slow negative is enough challenge as opposed to grabbing weight. So 3 to 4 seconds on the way down. 3, 2, 1, and then normal speed on the way up. The way up doesn't have to be like torpedo fast, just normal speed. 3, 2, 1, and up. 3, 2, 1, and up from the side. Make sure you're doing a normal squat so your butt is going back. Knees are staying kind of behind the toes, so we're not just doing this, right? All right, so nothing extra fancy about that. We're just changing the tempo. That is our slow negative squat. All right, everyone's gonna hate me, and that's okay. We got burpees for station 4. That's our cardio move for the circuit. All right, I'm gonna show you the incline version first, and then I'll show you the more advanced version second, which is on the floor. So you place your hands. There's 3 parts of a burpee. Down, 4 parts. Down, back, in, and up. Down, back, in, and up. Okay, lots of ways you can change that up. If any of the jumps hurt, change the jumps. And sometimes some of the jumps hurt and some don't. So you can change it up however you need. So you can maybe jump back, but step in and reach up. Or maybe step back, but jump in, jump up. You know, everyone's body is so different. So sometimes the jump back hurts, but the jump in doesn't, or vice versa. Or the jump up feels fine, but the other jumps hurt. So take out any of those three jumps that might maybe irritate something. If they don't irritate anything, do all of the jumps, because that's where the cardio comes into play the most. So that's doing with an incline. Again, one more time. Down, back, in, up. Down, back, in, up. If you are ready to do a full floor burpee, everything's the same. Okay? Just a lot farther down. Hands down, back, in, up. The most important thing with that is when you jump in, Watch my feet when I jump in. It's important that the feet are landing flat and instead of this and like landing on your toes and kind of crouching in like this. So make sure you're landing flat-footed like a squat. Okay, so we do have burpees this week. You can do whatever level works for you. Also different incline levels. So that's kind of a higher one. If you want to do something lower to kind of take it on an incline, but not as high of an incline, whatever works for you. So burpees, station 4. All right, station 5 is a chest press. We do so many variations of chest presses, like a slow up, slow down, seesaw, the holding one with the moving. So many variations. This week we're doing no variation. It's your regular chest press. So lie down with the weights. Make sure you are lying. Let me show that again. Weights in your lap. Before you lie down with them. I don't want to see anybody lying down and then grabbing the weights. I'm going to tell the coaches to kick you out of class if they see that. Okay, so that being said, we're just going to do a normal double arm press. Not fast, not slow, whatever speed feels natural for you, controlled, safe. Bend your knees, and that supports your lower back. That's just a back safety thing. Yeah, there we go. Make sure your elbows aren't straight out to the side. That's not a good angle on the shoulder, so you just want to dip them down a little bit. There we go. When you put them down like this, kind of clunk the bell down to the floor. They don't have to balance. It's fine if they tip, but that's just the safest way to put them down. And there you go. Anyone staying off of the floor, for our floor exercises, the coaches can wheel in an incline bench. So you'll be on a bench at a 45 or maybe a little lower, but somewhere degree angle. And you can do that exact same exercise on a bench. And let's get some nice, heavy, old-fashioned chest presses this week. Station 6 is a half kneel pull-off press. I have a band. I think most of the clubs will be using a band. Some of the gyms have a cable setup machine in their turf space. So you might be doing this at your club with a cable, which is great and fine. Nice variety. So that's just fine. This is the tricky thing to remember. It always takes me, I had to test it out before I hit play. So it always takes me a minute to remember. The inside leg, meaning the leg that's on the inside of the setup, so closest to the anchor point, is the leg you're kneeling on. So the inside leg is the kneeling leg. And we're doing a pull-off press. Typically this is done standing. But this adds a little more challenge, stability. Anytime you do this half kneel position, it adds those components to it. So hands start at the chest. You might have to trial and error a little bit to see what's the appropriate distance away from the anchor point to kneel. And then we go all the way forward, come all the way back. The farther out you go, the harder it becomes. We're trying not to have it pull us in like this. And we're trying not to have to kind of kick the shoulder up. If you can't go fully forward, see how I'm stopping before my elbows are straight? It's too hard, so kind of maybe inch in a little bit. Or get a different resistance band. Like that, now ease it up a little bit. Because we don't often want you to lock in your elbows. There's a couple things like the overhead thing earlier. That's one thing we wanted you to lock your elbows in. This is another one. This is one example where we do want you to go full extension with the elbows. Full extension. And if you can't, change it. Go in a little bit lightened up. It means it's too heavy for you. Because if you're just doing this, you're really not getting where the magic happens. Is actually these last 3 inches out here. So if you're not getting those last 3 inches, you're kind of wasting the movement. So don't be a hero and try to use too heavy of a band or be like, oh, I'm going to come way out here because that looks better. But then only do this. Get the full range of motion so you're getting the full benefits, even if that means you have to scoot in a little bit or use a different resistance band. Okay, so that's our half kneel pull-off press. Again, some of the clubs might be using the cable machine. going to switch my setting here. If they have a cable machine in the space, and that works just great. Like I said, the variety is good. So 2 rounds on each side, so we don't have to worry about switching sides halfway through the set, and that's station 6. Okay, all right, team. Our team builder is going to be a lateral medicine ball toss. Now, this is a hard demo to do because I don't have a team with me. Hopefully you have a good group because it's a little more fun. But you'll line up with your team, your fellow session mates, and you want everyone to be about arm's length away from you. So my next person to my side would be here, and the next person to my other side would be about here. That's just a good distance apart. You're going to be using the big slam balls, those softer, squishy medicine balls, so they're a little more comfortable to catch. And we're going to be doing that rotational movement because we're going to be tossing the ball laterally. So be ready for the ball coming to you, so be aware of your surroundings. But the person like coming this way to me is going to toss it to me, so I'm going to catch it here and then release it to the person to this side. Okay, so when I'm catching it here, I have to kind of brace to catch and then release over here. So you're getting that nice rotational movement, working those good muscles here. And then when it gets to the end, it's coming back this way, and now I'm going to catch it here and release it here. You get the gist. It's up to your coach if you want to go down and back for 60 seconds or maybe count down and back 5 times. It's up to your coach how long or how many times you're going to do that. It might depend on how many people you have in your group too. The end people, this is important because if you're on the end, right, you want to make sure you're still getting a full rotation. So if you're on the end, like if I was the end person and I'm catching it here, okay, catching it, still rotate and then toss it back. So pretend you're going to throw it to the person to your side. Just don't release it. So that way you're still getting the full rotation. So you're not getting gypped on anything. Okay. So that is our team builder lateral medicine ball toss.